Everybody, this is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com. Thanks for joining me for what I know is going to be another exciting podcast discussion interview. And again, if you're listening to the sound of my voice or you're seeing this video, feel free to give us a like, give us an uptick, give us a share, give us a comment. Something you don't like, whisper it quietly to me and tell me. But we're going to have a good time today, and we know that you're going to learn all things how to grow your business. I'm here today with Alyssa Cutright. Alyssa is the VP of Global Payments at eBay. Alyssa, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciate you being with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So how is this? We're recording this kind of the beginning of December and November. I'm sure it's been a hectic time with you. Anybody who works for a larger brand and the world of payments, I'm sure the holidays are an extremely busier time, I'm guessing, for you in business, and I'm sure personally as well.
It is definitely a busy time, not only managing everyone trying to find that great gift, but planning for the next year as well. It's always that planning season on top of it.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure COVID doesn't make that any easier, planning the unknown that we all really don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months or 3 months or tomorrow probably. So, but thanks for being here with us. I appreciate it. One thing that caught my interest, Alyssa, really much that I want to spend the bulk of our conversation on is this aspect of the startup mind shift and startup management in the startup world. And I know that eBay is a big multi-billion-dollar company, big with thousands of employees. But yet you're as a vice president, as a senior executive there, you have this kind of startup culture, and that can mean a few things, but take a few minutes to unpack what that means to you and maybe how that may different, not in a bad way, but some of your peers who are not doing it, what that means. So take some time to unpack what that means for Alyssa, and then we'll dive into some things based on what you said, what we can learn from that.
Yeah, I mean, having grown up in business in Silicon Valley and in startup world, you come to learn that innovation, persistence, and sort of failing fast and just getting out there and doing things is sort of a way of life, whether your startup gains traction and succeeds or not. So coming into eBay, as you noted, like a big company with, over 20 years of experience, but embarking upon figuring out what to do with payments after the split of PayPal, it was really important for us to figure out how do we introduce that startup mindset in a big company. And it really started with people, right? Like the kind of people we recruited in that had experience building, right? We are building something from the ground up in a company that is already quite mature and with established customers, right? When you're in a startup, you're building from zero, right? So you can iterate as you're growing with your customers. So for us, it was a little bit different since we have going concern customers. At eBay, we have millions of sellers that make their livelihood selling on eBay. So we also needed to be very mindful of balancing that startup mentality, that test and learn, the iterate quickly, with ensuring that we had stable and scalable systems. So we had to sort of take the best of both worlds, if you will. And again, starts with the people, and then really having a firm framework that allows us to understand what our boundaries need to be, what we expect, and when we see the very first signs that we need to make a pivot so we can react quickly. And I'd say the other key element was keeping a really open dialogue with our customers. As I said, we have lots of sellers that make their livelihood on eBay. So we were very transparent from the beginning. Come on this journey with us. For the ones that came from the very beginning, it was optional. We had a very open dialogue with them to let us know what was working, what they wanted to see that they were not seeing. And we really took that feedback to heart, and we adjusted our roadmap accordingly. And now we're at scale. We're over 300,000 sellers on the platform and moving over 20% of eBay's volume through the platform. So our approach has really paid off. We still have a ways to go, but we iterate really quickly. And we just do it, right? You can analyze forever when you're at a large company. And so I'm a huge data-driven person, and I love facts and data, but we also have to decide and go.
Got it. Maybe that's why we get along so well on what 11 minutes of this call, because I'm not a data person. I'm just like a gut instinct. We would just figure it out. We could be wrong. Hey, we lost a few $1 billion. That's okay. That's kind of how I roll. So I'm sure I have a lot to learn from you, Alyssa, if I worked on your team. You like, Ramon, what does the data say?
You know what? But I'm a huge believer in it takes huge variety of thought.
Sure,
Like
that's
all
true.
of us are wired differently, and you can look at the exact same set of information or consider the same problem, and everyone sees sort of different things and therefore has different possible solutions. And I
Right.
think when you build a team that can debate, but with respect and
Yes.
vigorous debate, you get a much, much stronger product at the end of the day. And again,
Mhm.
I think that's something coming from that startup mindset. Startups are just more comfortable with more vigorous debate
Right.
than perhaps more mature companies where you can see more passive aggressive behavior, where having sort of that direct conversation may not be as common.
That's a good point, Andy. In that startup culture, even though you have the boss, the junior person may not be afraid to call them on the carpet in a respectful way as humans. But a bigger company, due to whatever reasons, it's been there 50 years, 100 years, but it may not be. So that's an asset. One thing you talked about, Alyssa, was change, and two things I picked up. I hope I remember the second thing I want to say. But it seems to me also like you're saying change doesn't have to be something we're afraid of. That change, in the case of what eBay's gone through and et cetera, could be, hey, something big has happened. We can just, hide in the proverbial closet, or we can use this as opportunity to grow and do something better. Those are my words, but does that make sense? Something I'm
Yeah,
hearing in our conversation?
absolutely. We have to embrace change, right? I mean, you brought up COVID. None of us would have anticipated this year. In fact, when me and my team started this year, this was a huge year for us because by mid-year, we had the flexibility to move as quickly as we saw
Sure.
fit for payments because we were restricted by some legal arrangements. And then COVID hit, right? And we were like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, how are we going to do this virtually, right? We are launching and scaling in 5 markets concurrently as of summer this year.
Mm.
And we just adapted, right? We didn't know, people were nervous. They're like, do we need to pull back on our commitments? Can we ask sellers to make a change when so much is changing in their world? And we went back to the reality of, we started this initiative to manage payments because it's better for our customers. It's a better experience for both our buyers and sellers. And if you always fall back on serving your customers, you can't really go wrong. And again, we used our attitude of open, honest communication,
Hmm.
and it's been wildly successful. And when you see challenges that come across, you just have to continue to find a path through. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
you've got to be the water that seeps through the
Yes.
cracks.
Yeah, that is true. And I think the other thing you mentioned, which I think is interesting, is the aspect of how we treat our customers. Change happens, but I think another thing that I'm hearing is that, so in your case, you and your team and eBay, whoever's involved, you've made the decision now to make some changes based on the change. So now you have to telegraph to your customers. And I think that was interesting. Change is uncomfortable, right? You could screw up, you could not, things can fail, there could be a hiccup, there could not, all those things that happen, whether you're a software company or selling, I don't know, red cups, whatever it is you're doing. So it seems to me also that it's important, as we're learning from your experience, just to communicate, which may be I'm guessing, Alyssa, but you correct me if I'm wrong, is that a bit of honesty, a bit of, hey, we screwed up, but you don't want to screw up too much because you're planning and all that. So those are some things I'm hearing, but customer communication is important in this startup mindset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you noted, change is uncomfortable for humans in
Yeah.
general, even if it's good change, right? You can acknowledge on paper or
Hmm.
theoretically, like, that sounds fantastic, but I'm not really interested in going through the process because
Right.
the process is work, right?
Right.
Um, and we acknowledge that with the sellers, right? It's also, um, you know, saying, we know this is going to take a little bit of work for you to
Mm.
get to the other side where it's better. And we acknowledge that, and we're here to support you, is really important because your customers want to be heard, right?
Yes.
Like, they want to know that they're seen and heard and understood, even if it's something that requires change or work on their side. So that
Mhm.
was really, really important to us, and being straightforward, right? So communication can come in a lot of flavors, right? And we didn't want to be like fluffy marketing communication. We wanted to be straightforward of,
Right.
here's what we're doing and here's why. This is why it's good for you. And we acknowledge that it means perhaps a little bit of work on your end. And we acknowledge that change can be difficult, and we're here to support you and help you through that process, and also have a multitude of ways that they can interact with us. Is that we did a lot of webinars, YouTube videos that were like instructional to explain things to them, written tips and tricks, so that we had a lot of different mediums for our customers to engage with us to understand what we were up to and to hear their feedback.
Right. And I'm guessing you did that because I know even in my little small business, Alyssa, it is, you say things once or twice, or you tell the person, we've sent out 75 emails. There's still that 30%, 50%, whatever the numbers are. I didn't get it. I didn't know that the log on moved from right to left, whatever, in a silly example. I'm guessing why, because there's always somebody who didn't see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the other thing I think it's important is talking about our teams. And by the way, I keep saying Alyssa. Is it Alyssa or Alyssa? How do you pronounce your name correctly? I got it right. Okay, because I know Alyssa can be a few different ways, so Alicia in other ways. So Alyssa. Now that I said that, I'm probably going to pronounce it incorrect the other half of the interview. But Alyssa, what do you do with teams? Now, as we're having this startup mindset, as you've experienced, you have Jeremy. He's been with eBay or the company, whatever it may be, for 20 years. He's scared of change, doesn't want to change. He's not happy-go-lucky. Great. I don't use this chair anymore. Alyssa said we're going to change the type of chairs in this metaphorical, example. My question being, what do you do with those people, Alyssa, who don't do well with change, who don't want to do with the team, who don't want the startup mindset? They like things exactly how they've been. We've had mahogany furniture for 50 years. Why is Alyssa changing it?
Yeah. Interestingly, you can borrow some of what we just spoke about with customers,
Okay.
with our employees, because we're all human at the end of the day, right? So acknowledging that we are changing, why we're changing, those are all important. It also has to be layered with inspiration. So early on, I was able to sort of create the story of why we are doing this. And it's firmly in support of our customers and in support of what eBay has always stood for.
Right.
Here created it, right? That all people are basically good, that we create economic opportunity for all. And by what we are doing with payments, it strengthens all of that. And you get your people inspired, and all of a sudden they're seeing this huge opportunity ahead, and they get excited about serving the customer in the mission of the company, and sort of their personal fear or discomfort falls away because it's replaced with this excitement about the opportunity ahead. And that was really important for us from the beginning, because as you noted, we're doing this inside a big company.
Sure.
And a lot of people are like, we don't know if that's going to succeed. You guys want to do this like monumental, huge project that's multi-year and really expensive. Like, is that going to work? Right. So, we certainly had naysayers internally, externally. And I was like, bring it on. Right. Like, we're just going to go do it. Right. At some point, it's like, this is not rocket science. Maybe what we're doing 20 years ago was de novo and no one had ever done it. But today, people intermediate payments in all types of marketplaces all over the world, large and small. So we knew we weren't inventing the wheel. Right. We were doing something that was really empowering for our customers on our platform.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful. I think the aspect of inspiring is right. And I think it all goes back to how we as leaders say it, whether it's, at eBay Payments or whether it's at a smaller business. But I think that is important. And I'm curious, Alyssa, in your experience or what you've gone through, is it okay to tell some employees, with empathy, of course, and love, but that, we're changing it. We've had maybe a few times I've tried to coach you or whatever the scenario may be, but the bottom line is this may not be the proverbial bus for you. Let's help you find a better fit. Is that okay to say? Because I'm imagining some small businesses or your peers at larger companies. I don't want Alyssa to go. She's been our star employee for 7 years. Oh no. But is there a time when maybe you have to say, Alyssa, thanks for being here, but you may be better somewhere else? What do you say to
Absolutely.
that?
You want people to be engaged and passionate in what they're doing every day. And I think it's about exploring what folks' strengths are, where they want to go, what makes them tick. I'm a firm believer, I've mentored a lot of people, whether I manage them directly or not. And people will always come and say, I'm not sure what I want to do next, or should I
Mm,
try this opportunity, or this doesn't feel right. And I'm a big believer in whatever you choose to do next. There should be some discomfort in it, but I think you should have one foot in one of two camps. One foot is like, I'm really comfortable. This is like my wheelhouse. This is my superpower. And my other foot should be in a space where I'm like, this is shaky ground. I don't
yeah.
know this. I don't understand it. That's how you grow, right? And you also need to have a learning mindset. I think that that's an important attribute that I look in all employees at any level
Right.
is curiosity, a lot of why not. I love the folks that come in who may not be from payments, by the way, and they're like, we should do XYZ, and you're like, what? Like,
Mm,
I don't know that we could do that. And you're like, well, wait a minute, let's unpack that. Why do you think that, right? And you just, all of a sudden you create some new understanding and opportunity on something that might have seemed crazy, but had some like this kernel of a new way of seeing things. So I think everyone should be passionate, should find those opportunities that make them ask questions. It allows
sure.
them to grow. And we all need to do that through our whole careers, through our whole lives, right?
Absolutely. No, Alyssa, this has been powerful and I love it. And I should have asked you this first, but for the few percent of people who are listening to us who don't know what eBay payments is or that, can you unpack that? I think everybody knows eBay, the marketplace to buy and sell stuff. Those are my words, not yours.
I mean,
um, but
simplistic terms, payments is more complicated than it should be, right? Like we all as consumers walk into the grocery store, the dry cleaner, the gas
sure.
station, and you swipe a card or tap a
Hmm.
card, and you don't really think about it.
Right.
When you're a marketplace, it's just more complicated. And by
Okay.
managing payments, it allows us to ensure that we're having a seamless of an experience of a consumer at the gas station or at the supermarket. We stand in between the buyer and seller since we're
Got
a
it.
technology platform that brings them together, and we can just smooth the experience. Our buyers that come onto eBay, they just want to find that great thing, and they just expect that however they want to pay is going to be available at checkout, and it's
Got
going
it.
to work. Right. And historically, in the way we were tethered to PayPal, we were limited in the forms of payment we could offer. They had to be whatever was in the PayPal wallet.
Right.
Now we are free from that. We of course still offer PayPal as a form of payment. It is a
Sure.
popular form of payment out there. But now we are free to introduce Apple Pay and Google Pay, which
Got
are
it.
super popular local forms of payment in Australia, Germany, et cetera, so that we create the right buyer experience. And for our sellers, historically, they needed an eBay account to list and sell on eBay and a PayPal account to move money. Now they don't need that PayPal account. It's built into eBay. So it's one-stop shopping, one set of reports, really easy for our sellers, and their funds go directly to their bank account. So we're
Got it.
really just trying to simplify the experience on both sides.
I love that. And so you have other team members, and I'm just making this up, but you can correct me if I'm majorly wrong, taking care of the search engine on eBay, other people taking care of the marketing, other people taking care of listings or customer support. Your team is about when money is flowing back and forth, that's what your team handles. Is that about
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way you pay and the way you get paid, and then all the reporting and reconciliation for sellers is my team. But yes, we have highly talented teams managing search and all manner of
Sure.
experience across the
Yeah.
platform.
No, it's a big operation for sure. But Alyssa, anything I didn't ask you that you were like, I wish you would ask me this, or I wish I would have said this, and if not, it's okay. But I always ask my guests anything they wanted to mention or underline or highlight before we end this awesome discussion.
I don't think so. It's been a real
Awesome.
pleasure, a lot of fun to chat with you. Highlight of the day.
I appreciate that. It's good to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this has been Alyssa Cutright, who's Vice President of Global Payments at eBay. My name is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, please give us a share, give us a like, give us a 5-star, 7-star, a million-star review, give us a comment, and let others know that you're hearing this on smarthustle.com.